Hey guys, Chris here again with Project Nerf, and today we're going to walk you through a very special build guide. But first, we have two blasters here, seemingly identical. One of them is fully modified and converted to full auto. One of them is bone stock. Hit me up in the comments and let me know which one's which. But today, we're going to do the full auto Demolisher build guide. Let's get at it. Okay, really quickly, we're going to talk about the trials and tribulations of turning a Demolisher into a full auto blaster. Okay, and first thing you need to know, guys, to the best of my knowledge, in all of the vastness that is YouTube, there's only about 5 or 6 of these converted to full auto, and at this point I have built 3 of them. So where I'm not going to say that I'm an expert or a connoisseur or anything like that, I do have experience modding them. And today, we're going to walk you through the whole process of turning your Demolisher into a full auto blaster. That being said, I would like to give warning to anybody. This is a difficult mod. It should certainly not be your first one. However, if you've got some time, you've done a few strifes, maybe a rapid strike, things like that, the Demolisher would be a great next challenge for you. So let's get into it. Okay, now I've saved you guys the agony of me pulling the screws out of this thing, so I've taken all the screws off. I pulled the 4 screws out of the rocket launcher handle and got rid of that. And we haven't opened it up yet, so let's get that done. Okay, these silver screws, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, all need to come out because they hold the outer part of the shell. Now, the outer shell is also solvent welded in place, and that's part of the reason this blaster is such a pain to deal with. Okay, we still got a random screw just stuck down in here. I don't know if you can see it or not. So, okay, at this point in time, you can see the outer shell is almost detached. However, there's some solvent welding right along this top edge. So, be extra, extra careful, but we're going to go in here with a razor knife and just work it back and forth a bit and see if we can pop that solvent weld. Oh, whoops. Helps if your blade is tight in your knife. Now this doesn't always work out well. But that's not too bad. Right down in there. I said sometimes you can get the blade in there behind it and just it'll pop and crack loose and you don't have to do a whole lot with it. And then other times you really have to fight it. Alright, I think we just got it. Let me see here. Yes. So, there it is right there. That's the only solvent weld on this side. The other part of the shell is exactly the same, but we have to separate these for a couple of reasons. One, we want to be able to run our wires back out from the flywheel cage through here and then back into the body. So, we've got that taken care of. And Again, once it's reassembled, no one will ever know because the screws hold it together anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the solvent weld on the other side and get back to you. All right, we got the solvent weld popped over here. And as you can see, we did a little damage to the inner shell, but it doesn't matter. The outer looks great. No one's ever going to notice it, so that's fine. So we're going to go ahead and pop this off. Now, I've already pulled the wire through this hole and I trimmed it off up here. So what we're going to do is take this part of the outer shell and go ahead and start prepping our battery tray to accept our LiPo battery. So we're going to pop this screw out of here. Lift that board up. Get that out of there, and then we're just going to bend all these tabs up like so. Take a small screwdriver to our little hammer and drive them through the body to get the metal tabs out. So let's, oops, dropping stuff. Okay, and you can take your little hammer and just kind of tap those, and they'll go through there. Right, I think we pretty well got that. Here we go, that's all of those, so those are junk. And what we're going to do, guys, is take our combination here of our flush cut pliers and an X-Acto and cut all of these ribs out of here. So by one of my subscribers, and I can't remember who, but suggested to me to score these along the bottom edge, just like that, a couple of times with the X-Acto knife. And guys, this makes a huge difference. So we're going to just score those. Okay, and then we're going to take the flush cut pliers and cut it down as far either side as we can, and we should just be able to rock that thing just like that and break it out of there pretty clean. So I'm going to go ahead and get this finished up, and I'll get back at you. All right, you can see we've got the battery tray all cleaned out now. No problems there. Only takes a couple of minutes. Let's take a look at this flywheel cage. So the first thing that I'm going to do, just for the sake of this and making your viewing a little easier, is get rid of those wires. Now, Demolisher has a standalone cage. Certain things like upgrading your flywheels are a lot different for the Demolisher because it's got a proprietary cage in flywheel. It's much deeper. So even the motor mounts are a much harder plastic. You almost have to use a kind of a screwdriver to get up in there and pop those open. They're not the flimsy rubber ones like on a Strife. And you can see that's much stiffer. So just be prepared to wrestle this a little bit more than you would your Strife or Rapid Strike cage. Whoops. Found what works pretty well is to get a little screwdriver in there behind the tab and then pry it over like that, so you don't stab yourself in the hand. Then your typical little push locks, push those. And there's two on either side of the cage. I forgot to take the rubber gate off. Kind of hold me there. There we go. So we're going to pop these flywheels off of here. Now typically I just use a couple of small screwdrivers. And go under the flywheel like so and just apply some leverage, and typically, there you go, they just pop right off of there. Same thing on the other side. There we go. All right, the motors, we're just gonna tap on those a little bit with my hammer here. And pull those out. So, okay, our cage is prepped to accept our new motors. But I wanted to show you why Demolisher flywheels are different. Okay, there's the Demolisher wheels. Okay, here's a wheel off of an ECS-10. Look at the difference, guys, in the height. Let's see if I can do it this way. Maybe you get a little better view. As you can see, the Demolisher wheel is a good couple of millimeters taller than a Strife wheel or an ECS-10 wheel. So when it sets on there, it drops down on the cage like this. If you put this wheel on it, as you can see, it really is kind of high in there. So like wheels that you get for a Strife or Rapid Strike, Rapid Red, just about anything else out there are not going to work well in your Demolisher. So I'm not real sure what the aftermarket is for Demolisher wheels. But so typically I just reuse the stock ones. All right, just wanted to point out a note when you do these cages. A lot of guys get in here and grind out these tabs. Now, you don't have to do that. What you do have to have is a set of slip joint pliers like this. I'm going to show you how I install these motors. They're a very snug fit, but that's what we want. Okay, so you're going to put the motor in here like this, and you're going to get it started. And there we go. Okay, and then you're going to use the very lip of the plier right on the very edge of the case of the motor. Do not grab the nub in the middle, just the outside edge of the case, okay, and right across the top of the flywheel cage. And as you can see, we have pushed that motor up in there nice and flush, nice and even. It's not going to ever go anywhere, so no need to grind those tabs out, guys. Just go ahead and slide your aftermarket motors into these cages. Okay, now that we got the cage set up and things like that, let's talk about the pusher mechanism here. So we're going to work with our system that's based on the Strife. But one of the first things that you're going to notice in a Demolisher, okay, the pusher arm is very similar to a Strife, so not much problems there. However, the pusher motor actually has to sit in a very kind of auspicious spot in the outer shell. If we take this out, and you take this away, the pusher motor is actually going to nestle in here just like this, which makes it very, very difficult to mount. So I've done numerous types of mounts at this point. Let's see if I can get that to go back together here. There we go. I've done epoxy putty. I've done wood, things like that. And it doesn't really matter how you go about mounting your motor. I don't think I have anything. Let's see if that'll work. See if that'll sit in there and kind of hold this up. Not really. How about the Strife motor holder here? Yeah, that'll kind of hold it still just for the sake of this. And as you can see, all of that's going to work out just fine. We're going to connect our spring somewhere up here. And do that. And that's one of the reasons that the Demolisher is such a big pain in the rump. The other is this part of the shell. When you go to close it up, let's take this outer off. You know, that stuff's just sitting in there. But you can see what's happening right here. Hopefully you can see it. If you look around the back side of the shell, and I don't even need the gearbox in there, just the pusher arm, you can see there's a big gap in this. And what's happening, and here you go, right there, look. The shell here, right here, is actually catching the pusher arm, so we have to cut this away. So it's going to be in an area. Let me see if I can get a marker here. Right along there like that. Okay, so we have to cut all of that out for our pusher arm to clear. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go and get my Dremel, saw that off, and then come back and you'll see that we'll have clearance the arm. All right, that didn't take too long. Now you can see we've removed quite a bit of material here from this inner shell. All right, but we've got our pusher working just like it should. And when we put the outer shell back on it, okay, no one's going to be the wiser. See? Covers up our cut mark really nicely, no problems. So we're going to go ahead and take the shell back apart, set our flywheel cage in, and run our wires out through the hole and through this channel in the body to come back into the blaster before we screw the outer shell back on. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started, and I'll get back to you. Okay, as you can see, we've got our cage screwed back down. Our wires are coming outside the body here and back in, and they're going to route down under here like so, and then do all this number. And I've left them incredibly long so I can cut them to length. So we've got that taken care of. Let's talk about something else here. The access door. Okay, every one of these that I have done to this point, which has been 4 already, has been access door delete, mainly because the access door won't ride over top of the pusher mechanism. So but this one, for the sake of this build, I've decided I'm going to try to save the access door, and the reason I drew this line on here is a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to point out to you that the access door is much longer than you need. If we slide it under here, you can see it fully closed, and my silver line just does not show. So we're going to go ahead and cut it off there because it's got this back wall that we need to get rid of anyway. But I've made a bracket. I don't know if you guys can see it. Hopefully you can. It's an L-shaped bracket that I've screwed on from the back side here to hold the pusher motor. It's screwed in from the back side. So hopefully that when we cut our access door off, oops, got that in backwards, that it will just ride right in here over top of everything, and we'll be able to keep it, and then we'll put a magnet in it to hold it shut. So what we're going to do at this point is cut the access door down and see if we can get that to slide underneath our pusher motor. Okay, you can see we took a big piece off of the access door, but success. I've got both outer shells together, and it slides right over top of our pusher motor. So let's get this outermost shell out. Hopefully you can see this. Our access door rides right underneath our custom bracket here for our pusher. Doesn't interfere with anything, so freaking sweet. So with that, let's go ahead and get the outer shell mounted on the right side of the body and start getting this thing wired. Okay, as you can see, we're pretty well done here. I've got everything wired up. Now this is wired up exactly like I do my full auto stripes, guys. There's nothing different. I've left a generous amount of wire down here at the bottom so I can run it back up to the other side of the shell, and I'll get to that in a minute. But we're going to test it. You can see I've got my jumper box hooked up. So we're going to turn that on. So we should have flywheel power, which we have. So let's see if we've got pusher. And that's awesome. So I'm going to start buttoning this thing back up, and I'll show you what I do with the last little bit of wiring in the connector. All right, guys. We're all finished. We're buttoned up. Now you can see, hopefully, that I cut a pretty healthy slot right here that allows the XT60 to slide through this outer shell. And then the way we cut the body, the hole that the wires originally came through is open at the top, so the wires just run up, pull through that, and then just pull right through here. So plenty of room under the jam door for what we're doing here. Just like that. Looks and sounds great. Let's do a quick fire demo and see what she does. Okay, guys, here we go. We're just going to run a 12 mag through it full auto here and see what it does. Warning to headphone guys, this is going to get pretty loud. And it's empty. Looked pretty fast to me. All right. Hopefully, you guys got a little solid information about how to convert one of these blasters into full auto. It is a difficult process. There's shell cutting, the breaking of solvent welding, kind of technical stuff going on with mounting the pusher motor. Again, should not be your first mod. Hopefully, you learn what you need to know to convert your Demolisher rover and be one of the very, very few people out there that have one. Guys, till next time, this is Chris for Project Nerf saying, have a blast.